So I've been lucky in my career. I've actually been able to be involved with a lot of innovative products because they've been the first of their kind. You know, the all plastic mop bucket, the CZ1000, the baby capsule, the power board, to name a few. And I hope people would look at these in retrospect and say that the product did solve a problem and its functionality was very important. It certainly was important to me on most of the products I've designed. So for me, the function first and the form will follow that, generally. I actually love the concept of doing all these sketches and renders. I really wanted to learn how they did those renders. You had to be an artist to do the work, which presented its own problems trying to sell products into the hard-edged, engineering side of manufacturing. We were seen very much as the wobbly end of the whole process. The sketches are a lead up to the final concept in my attempt to become fully intimate, fully knowledgeable about the product. I loved it. It was one of the first products I actually designed. You have to cast your mind back to 1984, I think it was, when it was done. People used to carry their babies around in cane baskets and plonk them on the back seat, and then jump into the front seat and buckle up because seatbelts were compulsory in the front seat. So their pride and joy was in the back seat, waiting to be thrown through the windscreen, which they often did in the case of an accident. This little product came onto the market, and it did very well, and I believe it's still on the market today, some 30 odd years later, which is a great outcome. My involvement in that was the design of the product from the start. I was given a wooden, just an example of how the system would work that has a weight and a catch. So the whole concept of it is that the baby's facing back towards the rear window, and it swings down, and the baby's back, which is the strongest part between the ages of 0 and 9 months, takes the brunt of the force. So there was a huge concentration on that product on the latch. And what that did, that was the serious part of the product. So I think on most of my products you'll see a colour differentiation on the things that you touch. On the sketches you'll see mostly red on the latch, and it adds a highlight to the product that gives it interest, but it also tells the consumer how to use it, and that's really the most important part about it. There were no other products like this in the entire globe, not one, and it got the Prince Phillip Prize a couple of years after it was launched, and that was a great outcome. I think it was a worthy outcome. It's saved lots of people's lives, and to me that's a special outcome compared with any other product I've done. It just eclipses everything. The CZ1000, the idea behind it was to reduce the amount of time that it took to pair cables in a telephone system. It would take a whole day to get a telephone connected. It reduced a day's worth of activity down to less than an hour. One of the breakthroughs with the product, and it wasn't being done at all in those days, was the shielding, the metal shielding inside. I didn't know a lot about metal stamping, so I knew more about injection moulding, so I thought, well, we'll injection mould an internal case, metal coat that, drop the electronics into that, then put another little case around it. It worked well. So the product was a great success, and it's still on the market today. Interestingly enough about that product, the electronics engineer that worked at the company at the time, he left. He took that idea and he boldly said to me, I don't believe in aesthetics. I'm going to take that product to the market and only make it functional. So he took it to a competitor, they made it, and it flopped. The power board is quite an interesting one. I reckon about 1980, 81, Cambrook, which was the company that we designed it for, came out of an electrician working in his shop selling products to people on the sidewalk. He was buying boxes and screwing HPM GPOs on top of the box, connecting up a lead, and then selling those to the public. And he became so successful at doing that, he thought, gee, I think there must be a cheaper way. I'm sick and tired of screwing these things together and wiring them. So he came to us and asked us to look at making one unified construction for it. The clever bit is all inside, actually. That's the first time people had put the buzz bar right through all the different outlets. But it was a quick project, and the product went through the design phase probably in about a week, and then the engineering several weeks, and then get it out there. It probably built Canbrook to what it became. It was a very successful company at the time. In the 80s, there were a lot of people building houses with timber floors, and they didn't want to drag the galvanised steel cans across their beautiful floor and chip them up. So the company realised they needed to use plastic, and they came to us and said, well, what can you do? Can you put some plastic on this steel can? And we looked at that and thought, no, we're not doing that. We're doing something better. It's a difficult thing to use a mop bucket without getting your foot in the bucket or flipping the whole thing over with your foot and getting water all over your feet and the floor. You make a mop bucket out of galvanised steel, they're a very strong thing. And then swapping that over to plastic, where you're expecting it to take the same loads, the same forces, the same durability, it's not easy. So the handle, you'll notice, is a lot thicker than the plastic, say, in the bucket itself. The handle is about 5 millimetres thick, but it's foam injected to increase its thickness and give you that solid feel, but it also structurally works at that size. The curve of the foot pedal came under a lot of discussion in the design office, because as the foot pedal goes down, it rolls, and you don't want to lose your step on it. The product went into production. It's, I believe, still on the market today, and it became the champion product for that company, and they were able to buy out their competitor some years later. So what makes a product iconic? I wish I knew the answer. I really do. I think the iconic products are the ones, though, that meet the brief in terms of functionality, where the problem to begin with was isolated and understood, and the product met that requirement.